Today is Tuesday, but you know that I said Tuesday is our new Mondays, and on Tuesdays we do a poem. So today's poem is going to be Ripped My Favorite T-Shirt. Ripped my favorite t-shirt, scuffed my shoes, lost my red sweater, and more bad news. Bet my mom gets steamed up, she will grouse, 'cause I haven't left the house. Broke my grandma's teacup, scraped her floor, smeared paint on her kitchen door. Now she will get angry, there's no doubt. Oops, I just locked grandma out. I'm a little angel every day, but trouble finds me come what may. Played the drums and just popped mom's souffle. When I sleep she yells hooray. Alright, so I'm actually just going to read it now. Ripped my favorite t-shirt, scuffed my shoes, lost my red sweater, and more bad news. Bet my mom gets steamed up, she will grouse, 'cause I haven't left the house. Broke my grandma's teacup, scraped her floor, smeared paint on her kitchen door. Now she will get angry, there's no doubt. Oops, I just locked grandma out. I'm a little angel every day, but trouble finds me, come what may. Played the drums and just popped mom's souffle. When I sleep she yells, hooray. That's your poem today. Rip my favorite t-shirt. I don't think I have the poem to upload saved, so I'm going to go very slowly through it. Let's talk about our reading recap today. You were able to go over compare and contrast. We finished that up and we moved on to how characters respond to an event or a challenge. Read half of Moses Goes to a Concert. We'll read the other half tomorrow. Homework for reading. On Google Forms, you're going to have some questions that you're going to answer according to Moses Goes to the Concert, the story that I read. Then you're going to get on your iReady and you're going to do 15 minutes of iReady. And you're going to finish up by reading a poem. I do not have that poem that I can upload, so I took a video. If you're able to look at that and see it clearly, please read that poem. If you are not able to read the poem, then just spend some time reading some books that you have at home. But other than that, let's continue to build our reading fluency by asking questions while we read to build that comprehension. That's reading today. This week's writing is still going to continue to focus on poems and poetry. Specifically today, we're going to be listening for line breaks. I'm going to read a same poem, but I'm going to read it two different ways. One way is if it is in a paragraph form, and then the other is to have line breaks in between it. But as we are focusing on poems and reading poetry like a poet, I've wrote up here, reading like a poet, there's a couple of different things that we want to think about. As I am reading, can I picture whatever the poem is talking about in my mind? Am I able to visualize it? Does this writing help me look at something in the world in a new way? So does the writer help me look at something in a new way? Does the writing give me a certain feeling, or does it make me think or have questions about what the author's writing about? And the last one is, does the poem have music? Sometimes poems are actually written to a tune or to a beat. Obviously in class we always have to read our poem to build fluency, but Mr. Elliott likes to sing them or rap them. As you saw earlier in our lesson, I was singing our poem. So I'm going to read two poems. Okay, they're going to be the same exact poems. One is written into like more of a paragraph form, where the other one is broke up into line breaks. So here we go. Goldfish flash gold and silver scales. They flick and slip away under green weed, but round brown snails stick to the glass and stay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this second one as if it's broken up into line breaks. Goldfish flash gold and silver scales. They flick and slip away under green weed, but round brown snails stick to the glass and stay. The second one is, for me, not only as a reader but as a listener, is a little bit more clear to follow for the simple fact as it's broken up into line breaks. Now, I'm going to read another poem that is written, and I want you to, as you just hear this, just to think about it, and hopefully you're able to create a visualization. This is titled Between Two Trees. Summer fills the empty space between two trees with a hammock. That poem doesn't rhyme. It's not a poem that's very long. What that poem is this particular author is trying to create a mental image for you. You have summer. You know it's warm. You have summer where you know you like to be outside. Now you've got a tree on one end and you got a tree on the other end, and there's empty space. So this particular poet, the author, says, what am I going to do with that? She says, well, you got two trees, why not put a hammock? And she's trying to create a visualization of warm weather, relaxing by being in a hammock. And that is poems. And I really want you to focus on trying to create a very strong visualization today. Okay? You're going to have your journal entry like you've always been doing, but then emphasize, when you write your poem, emphasize creating a strong visualization by giving clear-cut details. Writing's recap for today. You're going to end up having a journal entry just like every day that we've been doing, and then you're going to have a poem. Today's poem, I want you to focus on really creating that strong visualization using detail. Let's be writers. As we start math today, we're going to shift from money into measuring. Now this should be a simple review for some of us because we did measuring in centimeters at the beginning of the year. However, this is going to be measuring in inches and feet. Now here's one thing that we did in my classroom is we still introduced inches and feet during the centimeter time. So hopefully this won't be too long of a process, but also it's going to be a harder thing for me to do here at my house instead of being in the classroom. Today, I have no ruler. If you've got a tape measure at home, perfect. I know some of you probably have parents that do some crafts or do different projects at home. If mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle have a tape measure, you can find one of them and use a tape measure. If you got a ruler handy, a ruler would work as well. But we're going to be talking about measuring, especially with inches and feet today. I'm going to give a quick rundown, and then you're only going to have one problem that you're going to have to answer. But let's look at our application problem. It's still going to focus on money. Carol knows she needs $3 for a drink, but only has $1.87. How much more money does she need for a drink? I'm going to underline my question. How much more money does she need for a drink? Now my thing is asking more money. So I know that I'm going to have some type of amount of money that is going to be more because we knew that she didn't have enough. Carol has to have $3, but only has $1.87. Okay, so we know that she's got to get to $3, but right now she's sitting here with $1.87, and she needs to have that amount of $3 to get a drink. What are we going to do? Well, we got to figure out how much more she needs to have. So $1.87 plus whatever amount she needs has to equal $3. This is going to be your application problem found on Google Forms. You can do this two strategies. One strategy is by writing it vertical, borrowing. Actually, with this one, you would have to double borrow with your zeros, which is a harder step, but it's also something that you can learn. Or we can do it kind of the arrow way. We can ask ourselves, how many does she need to get to the next 10? So it would be 3 cents. And then when I get to $1.90, how much to get to the next dollar, which is $2? Well, she needs 10 cents. and then how much to get from $2 to $3. And you can do it the arrow way. I don't care if you do it the arrow way. I don't care if you do it vertical. I don't care if you try to draw it out. However, you've got to tell me in an answer on Google Forms how much money does she need to get to $3 so she can buy her a drink. That is your application problem today that you can find on Google Forms. As we look at our measuring, you might need a ruler, or if you have a tape measure. Homework today is I want you to find 2 to 3 items and measure them in inches. Again, 2 to 3 items and measure them in inches. I don't have a measuring tool with me today, as you can see, but I wanted to talk about when we measure, how do we start out measuring? And this is going to talk specifically on the ruler. So as we're looking at measuring, we're going to focus on the inches. Now, centimeters we did at the beginning of the year. You knew that there were 30 centimeters on a ruler. That's not the case for inches because inches are a bigger unit of measuring. Okay, so the first thing that you've got to do when you measure and you're using a ruler, you've got to either do one of two things. You either got to start at the 0 on your ruler, or if your ruler does not have a 0, you start at the end of the ruler. The lower number, make sure you're not starting at the end of the ruler that has the big number. Okay, so it's either 0 or right at the beginning of the ruler. The next thing is, you've got to be precise so that you're measuring in inches. Sometimes we get confused and we measure in centimeters. Usually there's a cm or an in. You want to use the in side, and if your ruler does not have in, then you're looking for 12 inches. Okay, 0 to 12. If you're using a tape measure, you've got to not worry about this because tape measures usually go to about 25 feet, or depends on what type of tape measure might have. A smaller tape measure, but this doesn't necessarily always apply to a tape measure. But still, same principles. It starts with the tape measure, and then you can still measure to inches into feet and everything. One thing that we want to talk about is when we're talking about a whole ruler. A whole ruler is 12 inches. Well, 12 inches equal a foot. And we're going to do some conversions. So 12 inches equal a foot. And then if you have 3 feet, 3 feet equal an entire yard. So when we're talking about a yardstick, that is 3 feet. Now, 12 inches, 1 foot. 12 inches, 1 foot. 3 feet, 1 yard. So to get to inches to yards, you're going to take 12 plus 12 plus 12. 12, 24, 36. 36 inches equal 1 yard. Again, homework today is going to be measure 2 or 3 items in inches, and then I'm going to have a Google Form question for you to answer based off of my computer screen question. This is our question that we're going to answer. It says, Mark and Melissa both measured the same marker with an inch tile, but came up with different lengths. Circle the student's work that is correct and explain why you chose that work. You do not have to circle this, obviously, because it's going to be in a Google form. All you have to do is tell me, whose work do you think is right? Melissa says this marker is 6 inches long. Mark says it's 7 inches long. You're either going to tell me Melissa is correct, or you're going to tell me Mark is correct. All you have to do is tell me who's correct and explain why. And you got Melissa, who had 6, and Mark, who had 7. All you got to do on Google Forms, tell me who got the correct answer and why that answer is correct. As we finish up math, guys, let's finish up talking about what you got to do today. In math, you're going to have your application problem found on your Google form. You're going to have to answer that measuring question, which person is correct about how long that marker is on Google Forms. All you got to tell me is the person that's correct and why they're correct. Please try to measure 2 to 3 items in inches. If you can use it in a ruler or a tape measure, whatever works best for you, whatever you have handy. You can send me a picture of you measuring if you want. You do not have to. And last is, let's do Zern for about 15 minutes today.